What's going on? Did you see Revenge of the Sith in theaters?
No, I didn't, but I know you did.
I did. Yeah. I I I want to do an episode. If we can squeeze in a bonus or something, that would be awesome, but I guess I'll just share a couple things. One, it was way awesome to go to the theater and like feel some of the hype that was like back when like Star Wars released. Like there was people in costumes, there was people cheering. It was a full house. People were happy to be there. So like very fun environment. And like I I feel like those environments don't happen anymore. Like I used to go wait in line as a kid to see Harry Potter. I saw Lord of the Rings when it came out. Saw Star Wars when it came out, at least the sequel, prequel trilogy. And like the energy and the fun and showing up and talking and people being excited when like the 20th Century Fox dun 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 dun, dun, like the hype and the fun and the atmosphere was there.
Hmm. Yeah, it does kind of seem like there hasn't been like something that people have really rallied behind, like people have with Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why they're milking it for all they can. Did you see that they're making a Darth Maul TV show?
I thought I saw something about that.
Yeah.
So what is it? Is
Uh,
it live action or animated?
I'm not entirely sure. Let me look it up.
I didn't know if that was just like sometimes you see stuff online, like you see a glimpse of something like a YouTube something, and you're like, is that some fan thing? Because there's so many now. Fan made this and that.
This is from the Hollywood Reporter. Star Wars Celebration Darth Maul animated series coming to Disney Plus. It's called Maul Shadow Lord. It will debut in 2026.
I, all right. I might be able to get on board with this. I know we talked about this a little earlier tonight. Um, Clone Wars season 7.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Clone Wars season 7. Freaking awesome season, awesome show. I was even saying like back to like Revenge of the Sith. I was saying I think that show does a better job at cinematically showing the events surrounding the Order 66 and different things
Mm-hmm.
than Revenge of the Sith. That may be a hot take for our listeners, but I'll just say this: Revenge of the Sith, without getting into details and a rating or anything like that, it's still the same movie, and it was fun to go. But to me, it's very cheesy, and it doesn't need to be. Empire Strikes Back's a great movie, not cheesy at all. And I think that's shown as what the best of Star Wars can be. Similar to that, maybe like Rogue One. But yeah,
Yeah.
Maul TV series, I might be able to get on board with that
It's
from what I've seen of him.
created by Dave Filoni. So,
Okay,
and the voice actor for Darth Maul is the same as it was in the TV show.
Wars.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So, it doesn't look like there's a bunch of trying to find like a description of it.
I'm sure it's gonna be like what he was doing post like Order 66 and things or something, or like between. Well, I don't know. It could be.
Okay.
It could be. Who knows when?
This is what it says. The plot is that Maul plots to rebuild his criminal syndicate on a planet untouched by the Empire. He also finds a new apprentice to teach the ways of the Force.
Dang. I didn't even
Thunderbolts.
watch that.
Thunderbolts is coming out tomorrow.
I The crazy thing is I don't know if it's just the marketing, which it probably is, but there's like all this like hype, like no, it's actually really good, or
Yeah,
like
I've
it's
seen the same
all
thing.
this stuff I'm seeing.
I'm seeing all sorts of stuff saying, no, you really got to give it a try.
This is changing the face of Marvel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't fall for it. And that's why like I didn't really want to go see Star Wars in theaters either because I'm spending money and LucasArts is gonna get it, and they don't freaking deserve it at this point. Yeah, but
I'm Bo,
I'm Dan.
and tonight's movie is No Country for Old Men.
Wow,
Ooh,
wow,
that was brutal. I had seen it one time before years ago, and I honestly don't even remember that much of it. I do remember. Well, I can't get into that because it's spoilers, but I'll bring it up. Um, that was very like dark from the very beginning.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know if I can do any more movies like that. I think I'm gonna have to cut our show to PG-13 and under.
I agree. It was, I mean, just like my initial thoughts were I thought the first hour was insanely good. I was ready to give this movie like a 9 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah, I was. I was
Okay.
really, really enjoying the first half. I thought
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Can't wait to get into that.
And then the second half was sad. Very disappointing, in my opinion.
Yeah. I want to talk about that, both the parts you liked and didn't like, because I want to bring up what I thought when I first saw it the first time. I think this movie, though, that aside, I think this movie is a great example of good storytelling in the medium of filmmaking. Good storytelling with character, story, and the camera. We'll get into some examples of that, but we're still spoiler free right now. So, but yeah, just like tension in scenes, people wanting things and trying to do things, and then the consequences. There's a good line from Alexander McKendrick where he says, like, shoot, now I can't think of what it is. He says,
What character is that?
Alexander McKendrick was a director and a film teacher, and he's made some very well received and acclaimed movies. But he says, in a well-told story, every fictional character functions within a network of nexus or cat's cradle of character interactions. People actually doing things to each other or reacting to the action. This is the essence of drama. So yeah, I think this movie's a great example of that. Like, it's not just like, here's some spectacle, here's some cool superheroes, here's some cool action. It's people actually doing things and people to each other and or people reacting to people's actions. But yeah, I don't know if you have any other initial thoughts.
I think most of what I have to say is like specific scenes, but this was someone who I respect a lot. This is their favorite movie, and now I respect him less. I'll just say that.
All right, yeah, well,
he said
don't meet your heroes, I guess.
He's like, this is my favorite movie by far. It's like not even close, and I totally disagree with that. 100%. That is not. It's not even in the top 100.
All right, well, let's get into spoilers because I think we both have a lot of thoughts, and I want to bounce some things off of you, and I want to continue to do what we've kind of started doing, which is whose story is it? What do they want? What do they need? And do we care? But yeah, go ahead and give me, if you want, some initial thoughts, and then I want to tell you about my like first viewing of the movie and what I thought, because I guess I'll start with this. The first time I saw this movie, and is it Leland? Lowland? What's his name? The main character? Well, I don't know if he's the main character. How do you say that name?
I don't even know.
Mr. Moss. Llewelyn? Or whatever his name.
Llewelyn, yeah.
When, like, it got to the scene where he was dead, I was like, wait, what the heck?
Absolutely.
I was like, what? This is the protagonist, and we're in the third act, and we don't even see him die. The sheriff or the county sheriff shows up, and he's dead in the hotel room.
Yep.
Like, what is going on here? So yeah, I did not, like, for that reason, I was like, this isn't even like a story anymore. Like, I don't like this movie.
I totally agree.
So yeah, let's hear what your initial thoughts, because this was your first viewing, correct?
First time I've ever seen it.
Okay.
I thought, again, the first hour, maybe hour and 20 minutes were so good, right? Because you think the story is about Llewelyn, mustache guy.
Leroy? Moss? We'll just call him Moss.
Moss. You think the story is about the guy with the money. You think it's about him because, and I have literally no critiques about the movie at all up until he dies. Like none. I thought it was such a like gripping thriller. Like, this evil guy just knows everything and he's a psychopath. You're not like, you don't super love Moss because you see that he's a little bit selfish. He doesn't treat his wife very well. but you do see like a glimmer that he's a good guy because he goes and brings the agua to the dying guy.
Yeah, he goes back, which was a mistake.
And it's like, he's not a great guy, but, you know, I don't want him to get killed by this psycho, and I want him to beat the psycho.
Right. Those guys are also not, like, even worse.
Yeah. And so it's like, you know, you're on his side the whole time, and then, you know, you think that, and the whole time they're trying to game up one another, like, well, I'm going to go here. Well, I'm actually going to follow you. Well, I'm going to steal this guy's car. Well, I'm going to shoot at you. Well, I'm going to hide behind this car, and I'm going to steal your gun. I'm going to hide this money in this one place. But guess what? I have a tracker on it. Like, the one-upsmanship was so fun for me. Like, it was like, oh, what are they going to do next? And he gets in and he gets away, but somehow he finds him, and the other guy shows up, the guy who's balding with the cowboy hat shows up, and he's like, you need my help. But then he gets killed. And it's like, oh man, this is so cool. Like, I love watching these
Woody
two.
Harrelson's character, yeah.
I loved watching them fight and see who was more witty, who was smarter, who could outbrain the other one.
Yeah.
And then he just dies.
Off screen.
And we don't even get to see it.
Yeah, off screen. I made the connection this time because it was the second time. So the Mexican guys that meet his mother-in-law and daughter, they find out from her where they're meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how, by the time Tommy Lee Jones, the sheriff, gets there, like the Mexicans already been there. They found him. They killed him. So kind of wild.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught on to that. If you
were
confused.
I kind of like insinuated that.
Even this time I was kind of a little confused. I was like, wait, how did they know he was there? And it's like, oh yeah, the guy was talking to the mother-in-law, meeting him in El Paso.
Apparently the mom dies too, which you don't see.
I think she dies of natural causes.
I don't know.
Yeah,
you don't
she
know.
has cancer.
Doesn't tell you.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is always a bad thing, but I think in this case it was. I don't know. Like, I hated that he died. I hated that. I was literally ready to give the movie like a 9, and then you open the door and he's dead, and it's like, what? Okay. Well, fine. He's dead. The police officer is definitely going to solve the problem then.
Right.
And he doesn't. He retires.
Mm-hmm.
And the psychopath walks away.
Yeah.
Like, what is... And we've talked about this a lot, how not every movie has to have a happy ending. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But it should
be a cautionary tale and things.
It should have something. And this one was kind of just like, well, they're psychos. Good luck. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's what I want to get into. It's like, I want to dive into this and figure out, like, yeah, what is this story? And, like, is there...
It reminded me of Joker. The way I felt after I finished watching
I never wanted to watch that one, so I never saw it.
After I finished watching the Joker was a very similar feeling to how I felt finishing this film.
Yeah.
Which was,
well, this guy's psychotic.
Okay, cool. There's psychos in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole story.
That's depressing.
Great. It's not a caution. I mean, like, you could consider it to be a cautionary tale, like, look out, they're psychos, but I don't know. I wanted there to be something, like anything. And I was so excited. Like, the part that I was literally yelling when he's on the phone with crazy guy.
Yeah.
And he says, I'll bring you something. And then he slams the phone. I was like, yes, let's go. I was so stoked. I was like, he's going to come up with an even more elaborate plan. He's going to do something so cool because he's done cool stuff in the past, like stowing the thing away and buying the tent and taping it all together with the hook.
Yeah.
And like getting it and buying the hotel room. Like, he's a crafty guy. Like, I can't wait to see what I can't wait to see what he comes up with.
Mm-hmm.
He dies.
Yeah.
It's like so anticlimactic.
No, you're not wrong. I felt exactly the same way as you the first time seeing the movie. And I'm trying to figure out this time, like, if anything's changed with that, like if I care for it any more or less because of that happening. It definitely, the impact of seeing it the first time and that, you know, finding that out is a lot more shocking. And a lot harder to handle. So, like, I feel like this time, since I knew it was coming, I'm a little more like, okay, well, then what is this story and what is the filmmaker telling me? Not telling me. What is he trying to say? Like, what is this story? So yeah, I want to get into, like, try to parse out, is there something here? You know, like we talked about Legend of Bagger Vance. at the beginning of that, you were kind of like a little more on the fence about like, yeah, I don't know if I like this movie. Then we talked about it. It's like, oh wait, this is actually pretty, clever.
Yeah.
Not clever, just like artistic and thematic movie where there was more being said than we realized watching it the first time, right? And a lot more to take away from it. So yeah, let's just dive into this. If you have any more thoughts, throw them out. Any feelings about it, but maybe we'll start with just those questions. We posed our story questions. Whose story is it? I mean, I was trying to think about this time. This time, I was trying to think about that question, having already seen it. Because is it Mr. Moss, Josh Brolin's story still? It feels like it, because even though Tommy Lee Jones is the open narrator, like we're with Llewelyn. We're with Josh Brolin pretty much the whole movie. Like, he feels like the protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that's taking action, making choices, whereas Tommy Lee Jones is more of like reacting to the action, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it is his story, and it's just a story of, like, it's hard to say a tragedy because he got mixed up in stuff he should have stayed away from. So it's cautionary in that way, but yeah, the protagonist dies in the third act. So I don't know a lot of movies like that I can think of off the top of my head.
No.
Yeah. So what does he want? I mean, I think it's clear that what he wants is like, I'm going to take this money and retire and have a good life. I'm a war veteran. We're not that well off. I've got a wife. We're gonna, and feel free to chime in anytime. How about what does he need, Dan? Any thoughts on like what does he need to do? What does he need to be?
I think that there are certain stories where you don't actually need to have like a super compelling like I guess need for the character outside of just surviving. Cuz basically his entire objective throughout the whole movie is just don't die. Cuz he already took the money, right? So I guess the moral of the story is when you walk and find a bunch of dead Mexicans, don't approach them and touch anything.
Go call the police.
Yeah, just walk away.
Well, actually, maybe not even that these days. You might get, who knows? Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, like just leave it. That's about it. But then what I think is an interesting story though is like you have to live with your consequences, right?
Mm-hmm.
He took the briefcase, right?
Yeah.
And you understand why, but then it just goes horribly and then he has to just survive. And so now you're on his side of, okay, you made this wrong decision, but this guy's a psychopath who's trying to kill you, so you just need to survive. And so sometimes the story is just surviving. But not even that was an interesting story because he dies. Like you think of Die Hard. I mean, there's no real story behind Die Hard. It's surviving, saving the day, basically. There's no like bigger moral to the story of Die Hard.
Let's use an example of one we've talked about because we haven't talked about that one yet. So
okay.
Do you have any of the movies we've watched?
I think most of the movies we've watched,
like Tombstone?
They've had like I feel like Tombstone kind of has like a call to action. Like you need to. Yeah.
I'm going to push back. I think this one does. And I think maybe that's kind of the point. I think that because it kind of even says it, his wife even says it like he won't ask for help.
Yeah.
I think the story is like in a typical story, what would have happened would have been he either when the offer's made from Chigurh, Anton Chigurh, to like, hey, if you come in, if you bring me the case, I won't go after your wife.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't say the same for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're dead. That was an opportunity for him to do to save his wife, to guarantee her safety.
Mm-hmm.
The other thought I have is, I think also another story that could be a similar vein is he actually does, okay, I made a mistake. I went and got this money. I'm on the run. People are trying to kill me. I need to go to the police. I need to go to the sheriff. They obviously know each other. It's a small town. The sheriff knows who he is. So I think he knows the sheriff. It insinuates he does when he's talking to his wife. So I think he, in that kind of maybe B story route, could be going to the sheriff and saying, look, I messed up. I shouldn't have got involved with this. I need help. This is what I know about the guy. This is what he's doing. We got to stop him. He's going to try to kill my wife. They team up. Whatever happens, the guy's like, well, I have to imprison you. I have to throw you in jail, or, okay, ride along with me. We're going to go find this guy. Something, right? So I think those are options. And in this one, he doesn't. He keeps making bad decisions of like, I'm going to keep the money. Get on a plane. We'll go. No, he won't catch us. I'm going to go defeat him. Oh, he calls me on the phone and threatens me. I'm threatening him now. So it's again and again and again, he's making choices to escalate the situation instead of saying, I'm in a bad way and I need to stop choosing this route. I need to go a different way.
Maybe. But this guy's a psycho.
Right, but what part of that changes his opportunity to stop the path he's on?
Because if he says, okay, fine, I'll give you the money, you can kill me, who's to say that he's not going to kill his wife either way?
Okay.
So you'd rather fight.
What about the... Well, he could have done that too. He could have said, I'll bring you the money, and then it's a double cross where he comes to bring it, and instead of just getting killed, he fights him, right? If the guy's willing to meet him,
maybe
you have a time and place, you can meet him.
Sure. But I think like as a badass protagonist, you want to, fight your enemy, not negotiate with terrorists.
Sure,
but I totally get that perspective.
Where the hero, says, I'm going to go meet you. I mean, the Tombstone. Wyatt says, yeah, I'm going to go meet you. He says, be here at this time, this place. Okay, I'm coming.
Yeah.
Doc takes his place. But
I'm not saying that he couldn't have made those choices, and maybe he should have, and things would have worked out better.
I'm just kind of arguing that I think maybe that is kind of the point of the story is, and kind of Riley got into this in our first episode. It's like, and even Bagger Vance gets in this, when you don't have your authentic swing, when you're not doing what you should be doing. Like, I know this is not right to take this money. Like, I've already made some mistakes. I've taken it. I need to go to the police. I need to save my wife. I need to do something to stop the path I'm on.
Yeah.
Because throughout it, like up until he dies, he's still saying, no, we're taking this money and we're getting away. Like, I'm going to win. I'm going to beat him. I'm going to keep the money. Me and my wife are going to retire. And it just never stops. There's no point of turning back where he's like, man, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And that's, I think, to me, seeing it a second time is kind of the point of the story.
Yeah, and I think that that's probably a very generous viewing. And I think that if that was the purpose, then it didn't do a great job of spilling that out to me. Because I was really, really invested in him just surviving. Because they make you like him by the end of it.
So let me ask you this then. Had he won and gotten away, and him and his wife flew out of El Paso with the money and went to a beach somewhere, like, you'd be satisfied with, like, this guy that found drug money,
sure, right,
kills someone that was after him,
I get what
and just kind of retires with the money?
I'm not saying that's what I would have wanted, per se, because
that's where we're headed.
Right. But, I mean, you could have just the shootout, and he still gets killed, but I see it. And maybe, like, I understand how it happened and why it happened. And then like the sheriff maybe like resolves the problem and is able to fix something. But I just don't feel like it resolves well at all. And maybe that is the lesson, is just like, don't mess around with stuff like this. And if you're on a bad path, try to get off as fast as you can, because there are consequences to your actions or to your inactions.
Yeah, that speaks to real life to me, right? Because, I mean, look, David, let's go biblical, Old Testament. David on the roof, should be at battle and war, should be leading his armies, sees Bathsheba.
Yeah.
But that's not what causes his downfall. What causes his downfall is not that, I mean, he sees her, okay? Doesn't look away. But then he brings her to his palace. Then he sleeps with her. Then he sends her husband to go get killed in the war, which is murder. Like, he gets him killed. It was his blood's on his hands.
Yeah.
And so it's like the progressive not turning back is what causes bigger problems. And like, do you know anyone in your life where it's like, if you would just change your path, or if you just change your path, started doing things different, you wouldn't be where you are right now.
Right.
On the opposite's too true, right? True as well. Like if you're making choices that are positive and good for you, and you continue those, you kind of start to build up some steam and credibility where it's like, yeah, this feels right. This feels like a good path for me.
Yeah. And I could see that being potentially the message of him just like, not getting involved in something, but then as soon as you do, you have to own up to it to protect other people. Yeah, and he fails to do that. Which, that could be the takeaway.
Well, I don't want to convince anyone. I'm just trying to piece together seeing this a second time and trying to figure out. I feel like this sits a lot better with me than just my initial seeing the movie, where I was just like, I don't get it. Like the protagonist dies, and like you kind of felt, not a lot gets resolved, because when the sheriff goes, back to the scene of the crime, and Chigurh's in there, he's just right behind the door. You're like, okay, something's gonna happen. Like the sheriff's like, maybe he's gonna get killed, or maybe he's a little more wise than we give him credit for because of his age, and he's like setting this guy up where he thinks Chigurh maybe thinks he's gonna get the drop on him and then does something, but then it just kind of, the scene just cuts away, and it's just like, okay, he goes in there, nothing happens, and then like you said, he then retires, and we can talk about that. I'll let you have your thoughts. Seems like you want to say something, and I want to talk about that B storyline with the sheriff.
Well, he looks over at the vent, and the vent is open.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that means that Chigurh ran away through the vent, or if maybe the sheriff found money in the vent and was actually able to retire with that.
I think
it just fades away. We don't know what the vent means.
Well, so Chigurh figured out at the first hotel, he opens it and he sees the marks.
Mm-hmm.
That the case was hidden in there.
Right.
And then he used a dime to open it. And so at the last scene, the sheriff's in there and he sees the vent open and there's a dime. And so Chigurh was again looking in the vents to see if the money was in there. And we don't really find out, okay, did the Mexicans get the money and leave with it? And Chigurh goes and looks in the vents and it wasn't in there? Or did they not get it? They got in the shootout, fled, and then Chigurh finds the money. And I think I lean towards the latter, that Chigurh actually got it.
That's what frustrates me, though, is I feel like the movie just doesn't really resolve itself. And that bothers me. Like, it feels like you just put on a shoe, but you don't tie it. And, like, the laces are just flowing all over the place, and it's like, all right, let's go on a hike. And it's like, I can't. My laces are not tied. That's how it feels. Like, it just, nothing was... There was no bow. There was no... The bunny ears did not go through the tunnel and come out the other side. It just ends with confusion, and I can't say I loved it. And I think that your interpretation is probably the most generous and probably the one that I will just tell myself, because that makes it more palatable. But I wanted it to be a cool action movie, dude.
I think and
the one I keep thinking of is Die Hard, where it's just like he shows up, bad guys are there, he's got to figure out a problem, and he does all these cool, like, unique ways of fighting the bad guys, and he ends up winning, and it's like, yay, happy ever after.
Yeah, it's like an action hero movie.
Yeah.
Whereas this is more of a thriller drama with some action.
But there's no resolution. Another thriller I like is, and this might be a stretch, but is A Quiet Place. Quiet Place, the evil monsters, you could say those are the psychopaths, and you're on the human side, although they're pretty awesome, and you like them a lot. But their whole objective is just to survive, right? And the husband dies, which is really sad.
His objective is to keep his family alive, because he's already lost one kid.
Right, but he does a good job at that, and like, you admire him. And then at the end of the movie, like, she freaking blows one of their heads off, and you're like, let's go, and then it ends, and you're like, oh my gosh, it like resolves well, but I also want to keep watching more because what happens to her, and then the second one comes out and it's not as good. But I think like A Quiet Place is similar. You got the psycho, you have the tension, you're trying to survive, stakes are very high, someone gets killed, but you're like, I don't know. The stakes are just you just feel resolved when that movie is over. Like you're like, dang,
Yeah.
I would love to watch that again. This
Yeah.
movie, I was like, I don't want to watch that crap again. That pissed me off.
Yeah, I had similar feelings, and I think now that I've seen it a second time, I think that's kind of the point. That's the resolution I'm coming to. I'm not trying to force it on you. Um, it's just for me, it's making sense to me.
I would love to hear like someone's critique of this movie and
Well-
like somebody who
Someone, not me.
well someone who like has watched it a lot and thought about it a ton and like maybe has a connection with the director who can be like this was the purpose. Because I think your idea is fine. I don't think it's a bad idea, but like is that what he was trying to say? Maybe.
Well, I think that's interesting because I mean, I guess it depends on who you talk to, but I know one famous director says that, when people watch my movies and they take this from that or take that from that, or they assume this happened in the story, or they want to know how this guy has this mark on his neck or this, and everyone comes up with a different idea of how that happened. And he's like, I love that. I love that because now they're interacting with the story and filling in the blanks, and I don't have to say everything. I'm just going to say what I have to say, and they fill in the blanks kind of idea.
Well, I'm filling in the blanks, and the blanks are stupid.
Well, let's talk for a second about this B plot with the sheriff. I want to try to wrap my head around this. So, he's third generation lawman, and not only that, I'm just going to try to make this succinct. It seems like he's seen a lot of crap. We know that obviously he knows about the drug cartels. He sees the dead bodies. He's not surprised. He's been dealing with this his whole life. Bad guys doing bad things that are just crazy. And he even kind of jokes about it, reading the newspaper in California about what people are doing. Not like jokes about it, but he's like, just wild what people will do to each other. Mm-hmm. And even like pulls over a guy at one point who's transporting the dead bodies, cartel bodies, and he doesn't stop him. I mean, he stops him, but he's just like, what are you doing? Like, people could see these. Like, you don't have a freaking van? And it's like, he like knows that he can't do everything. Mm-hmm. He can't stop everyone. He can't control everything. He's just got to do what he can to kind of keep some sort of order within the bounds of there's tons of drug cartels, there's tons of crazy people, there's outlaws, there's criminals, and all I can do is my best just to kind of keep some sort of semblance of peace and what was the other word? I don't know. Just kind of justice or
law and order.
Yeah, law and order. That was what I was thinking. Okay, and then we get to this towards the end of the movie where I kind of wonder if he does know. He knows like Chigurh's been whatever he says his name, Chigurh's been there because he sees the locks punched out. So he goes inside the motel room, doesn't find him, but he's right behind the freaking door. And he sees the vent open, and then the next thing, like, he's retired. Mm-hmm. He talks about his dream with his wife. He talks about this dream where there's a bunch of things throughout the movie he talks about. And one of them is this dream where he sees his dad, they're riding the mountains, it's cold, and his dad leaves up ahead to go start a fire. He just knows that's what he's doing. And he says, like, I knew he was just going ahead to get things ready for me. And to me, it kind of, that felt like he was saying, like, with life and death. My dad's gone on. He's getting things ready, so when I come join him. When I die. But there's other things he talks about, like with that other sheriff after the murder of Llewelyn, whatever his name is, Mr. Moss. And, the guy says, like, let me see if I have it in my notes. He says, I don't have it in my notes, but basically they're just talking about how, like, you can't stop what's coming. Like, things are getting crazier and crazier. I saw a kid with green hair and nose piercings.
A bone through
his nose, yeah. And then, he comments back like, yeah, I think things are, go to heck. You kind of see the signs when kids stop saying sir and ma'am. And the movie's titled No Country for Old Men. And I kind of just feel like things, like I've already hit on, like things are just so bad. Like there's not really much he can do, and he's getting old now, so there's even less that he can do. Like he never draws his gun one time in the movie until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I want to kind of figure out this story of his. It's like, is it just like I'm trying to do some things to keep some law and order. I'm trying to get this ghost, this Anton Chigurh, trying to help Llewelyn and his wife, but it just ends up everyone's dead.
And that might just be like maybe it's just a story about just how crazy life in Texas is and was. And that might just be like the whole point of the story is just like, do you want to see a crazy place? Check out Western Texas in the 1970s.
80s, I think, but you say was, but if you go watch Sicario, it's not was, it is.
Right. And that might just be I mean, and that might be simplistic, but just like he might have found out this crazy area of Texas is just basically ran by the cartels, and you have like one sheriff who like tries to do things about it but really can't. And like just tell that story and how crazy that is.
Right.
Because by the end of it, I mean, one thing that I thought of was like, first of all, why the heck are these cartels in Texas? Why are they not being like blown to bits? And what's super fascinating is that they mentioned Vietnam a couple times. And almost like we're willing to send our troops to Southeast Asia, but not to Texas.
Yeah, to protect our own border.
Yeah. And it's like you have these terrorists, these criminal syndicates terrorizing this area with drugs, with guns, with violence, with killing. But he mentions like, yeah, I'm a veteran from Nam, but like
2 tours.
Yeah, and like now I'm here. And so I think that might have been, I don't know if that was like the explicit thing, but that's what I kept thinking. I was like, it's just crazy that there's this drug cartel is literally running this whole area of the country, and there's one sheriff to take care of it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And he knows he can't, so he's just to let a lot of people just go.
Yeah. Which is super, like, it's an interesting thing to think about.
No, definitely. I think that is part of something the filmmaker is commenting on is, yeah, that's a good catch. Yeah, I definitely think there's some commentary on, yeah, we're willing to go put our boys' lives at stake in other people's countries, an interest that we shouldn't be involved in, but we won't secure our own borders and clean out from the inside out.
Like think like all the people who lost their lives and their limbs in Vietnam, and yet there's millions of people who are affected by literally a terrorist organization that's in our country, that's foreign.
Yeah.
And up until very recently, we really haven't done anything about it. And so, yeah, it is a country. It's like no country for old men. It's like, sorry, man, you're screwed. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, those old American ways of, I don't know. I mean, it kind of comments on like it never was even good. That guy in the wheelchair comments like, hey, even when it was us and the natives, like they shot the guy on his porch and watched him die.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not like things are just getting worse. There's always bad people.
It's true.
So if you think it's just getting worse and worse, it's like, no, we've always had to deal with this crap. And so it's just, a commentary on that too, where man is always faced with fellow man that are willing to do crazy things, evil things, horrific things. But also, I think, man, things are not what they were at the same time. Even saying that, they may have still dealt with crazy stuff. I'm sure they did. Colonials, people coming west, early America in the 1900s. But I think we have a time now where it's like we need to stand up and take care of our home country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everybody feels that way. And watching this movie again just made me feel like super bad for, not that I would put down anyone who served in Vietnam, because I think that pretty much everyone that did it with the sense of patriotism. But like, it really sucks that we have sent troops to Iraq and Afghanistan and Vietnam, like to these places that aren't our country, and like what do we have to show for it?
Yeah.
Whole lot of
Exactly.
veterans with blown off limbs
Yeah.
and millions of dollars, billions of dollars down the drain, and a sheriff in Texas can't help out his community because it's overran by cartels.
Yeah. It's wild.
It's just fascinating, and like, I guess this is a whole nother conversation, but like the question is why? Like, why has there been so much focus on other places in the world and not our own? Money.
Just follow the money. Follow
Money.
the money.
Yep. That kind of turned. That turned a little political, but that's always where my mind is at because
Well, it's hard because
what I
it's
think of.
commenting on that, and like so, and this is our reaction to the movie, so and what we're getting from it, and
Yeah.
maybe to kind of end this, I just want to share a couple things I wrote down. One of them, just to kind of maybe highlight some of the things that were maybe a little more fun, I guess, from this movie, even though it's not a very fun movie.
No, it's not.
When the Mrs. Moss calls the sheriff and they're on the phone, and he's like, she's like, she calls him, she's like, was that story about so and so, or was that tale about so and so just a made up story? And he's like, who? Oh yeah, him. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't say everything in that actually happened, but it certainly was a story. It's certainly true that it was a story. So that was kind of fun. I like that. We talked about the dream. It was interesting too, where he talked about when he talks to her the first time on the phone, or maybe it's in person. It's in person. He's telling her that story that she asked him about with the steer. And he's like, he's trying to illustrate this point because she says, well, he never gives up. He'll win. And he's like, well, let me tell you the story. This guy tried to kill the steer to go butcher it and eat it. And he ended up shooting himself because it ricochets, because the steer is a big, strong animal and he didn't shoot it straight on. And so not even the quote is kind of, even the contest between man and steer is not certain. Even an animal that's tied up that you're going to execute, that's not even certain. So don't be certain. That's kind of like, what is that? Kind of like foreshadowing maybe what's to come. Like, you can't be sure of what's going to happen. And even that car accident at the end was kind of weird, right? When he's driving away and just gets hit by a car. But you kind of hope that he died in the crash.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't. But
yep, big jumbled mess.
I will say, when we can wrap up here, unless you have any other thoughts, I definitely have a new perspective on it seeing it a second time. And I got more from it. And it definitely is, for me, as far as execution is like I said in the beginning, telling the story with the camera and with characters acting and reacting. Fantastic job. Now I know you're gonna have you have your qualms about, feels like a broken story. I do too in some ways, but I think that's the point for me as of now, viewing it again. So take us away. Let's score it out.
Dude, I loved the first hour and 20 minutes so much.
What would you rate the first, like if you just got cut off and you're like, that's episode 1. What do you give episode 1?
9.
That's that'd be the highest score you've given on anything.
I was so into it, dude. I thought it was so cool. I was literally like in my head, I'm like, yes, this is such a good movie. I'm so happy.
Well, I think you even said it out loud one time when Llewelyn was like, no, I'm going to bring you something. He hangs up the phone. And you were like, yes,
let's go. This is so sick. I was like so excited for like the triumph, the great movie, the great resolution.
Uh-huh.
And it never came.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah. So 9 up until an hour 20. And then probably like a 5 out of 10 for the rest. So that probably leaves me with like a 2.
Maybe we should just switch to the 5-star rating, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a
no, I was kidding.
Hey. I'll do a 7.
Okay.
I'll go right there in the middle.
Yeah, it's definitely very Oh man, very well crafted film. Story, I can see why you're having trouble with it. I had trouble with it. Um, I'm not gonna lie. This is like we've already mentioned from the very beginning. This is a hard movie for me to watch. It's not a movie I really want to even revisit for that reason. If it wasn't so hard to watch, like if it was like a PG-13 movie, and some people are gonna hate me for saying that, they're like, oh, like no, it's good the way it is.
I didn't like the gore at all.
Yeah, I think, I think I would revisit it, but it's just too dark. Like, and it's not even like the violence; it's like how psychotic Chigurh is.
Yes, the whole time you're just
So like it's like he just murdered Llewelyn's wife at the very end and walked out of the house like it was just a normal day. And that's just like, it's so gross.
I agree.
It makes me feel not good.
And that's why it was so frustrating that no one gets him.
Right.
Like, the psycho should die. That should be the end of the story. You know what? I'm giving it a 6.
Are you changing for real?
I'm genuinely for real. I can't give it. 7 is far too generous.
Okay. So that's a 6 from Dan.
Yeah.
Out of 10, everyone. Out of 25.
Out of 100.
I'd probably give it a 7.5 because it is a very well made movie. And I did take a lot more from it this time than the first time I saw it. I think that's a wrap on the scoring. Rather talk some Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't know. I totally agree with you. I feel like the gore was unnecessary. The violence was horrible. He's just so psycho, and no one gets him at the end. It's like, dang, what am I supposed to feel about this? Just feel depressed.
Thanks for joining us on Real Legends. We're now on Instagram at Real Legends.
Real.legends.pod.
Yeah, Instagram, real.legends.pod. So check us out on Instagram, and don't forget to give us a 5-star review if you enjoyed the show on Instagram, or on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And we will see you at the concession stand.
See you then. You're on Apple?
Yeah, we're on Apple.
That's freaking dope.
Yep, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on your mom's radio.